Cool, we're ready. Right, I thought I'd just take you through what a workout looks like. So we think about the MoveMed 8. I'll run through all 8 and I'll show you how you can just superset them. But I always start off my workouts with a dead hang. I've just finished a backwards walk. So normally backwards walking on the treadmill just gets the blood pumping into the legs, especially into the front of the knees. Gets the feet activated, gets the tibialis anterior activated. So I normally start with the backwards walk on the treadmill. And then, yeah, normally we'll do a dead hang. So I highly recommend trying a dead hang. Let's see how long I've got today. Why the dead hang is important is tells me a lot about how recovered I am. So yeah, normally anything around 90 seconds for me, if I'm like falling off, I know my body's not recovered properly. Anything up to around 2 minutes and just over, I know my body's fresh. So yeah, without thinking about it too much, I'll start the timer on the ground and we go, we hang. If you're new to hanging, it is very humbling. I heard that for men, the benchmark is a 2-minute dead hang, and I immediately thought that's easy. Until I started trying it. And yeah, within 1 minute, 15, I was falling off. Yeah, I realized just about how tissue like muscle, tendons, ligaments, how they have to adapt and stretch. And what happens is that your grip gets weak as a protective mechanism. So you'll fall off the bar to protect you from hurting yourself further. And then yeah, I hover around sort of 75 seconds, like minute 15 for a while. And then I slowly got up to 90 seconds, minute 45. So yeah. What's that today? Just under 2 minutes today. So yeah, I'll take that as a fair recovery from the previous week's stresses. But yeah, grip strength, it's such a humbling thing to do, man. Like, you'll be feeling good and next thing, in 5 seconds you're off. It's important to find a bar that you are used to using. So whether you use the handles by the door frame, or if you're using rings or whatever you're using, try and keep it consistent, because then you can kind of get a measurable test. So yeah, this bar is a bit thicker than normal. Yeah, it's just probably a little bit harder than a thinner bar, but I'm used to this bar now, so I'm not gonna change it up. Cool, so I'm going to be working through the MoveMed 8 today in no particular order. I'm just going to speak you through it. So yeah, this is the back extension. Let's see how many reps I've got in today. I've been recommending this exercise to patients for the last 14 or so years. And yeah, I suppose my calling in life wasn't to be a viral influencer, but people like Brendan Backstrom, who from low back ability, who have really popularized this movement. We're so grateful to people like that, because now when I recommend it to a patient, I can just tell the patient, get hold of low back ability or Brendan, and you can see what he's doing. And so with this back extension, you want to be going from a full flex position. When I recommend this to patients, everyone's like, but you're flexing your spine, and that can't be good for you because we all get taught that flexion is so bad, when flexion is actually the answer. Yeah, being able to extend your back from a flexed position is such an essential movement that we all kind of lose in today's day and age. So what I'll do with the MoveMed 8 is I'll choose 2 movements, try to mix it up as much as possible so every week's a bit different, or I normally do this on a Monday and a Friday, these types of movements. So yeah, I'll jump between. So today let's mix it up. Yeah, we can superset that with maybe the ATG split squat. So yeah, split squat is getting your knees over your toes. Obviously, if you're starting off, start off with just knees on the ground. Keep it simple. But yeah, now that the progression from there, once you're comfortable with that, is then to start obviously take a full weight, as in your full body weight. You can see I'm training barefoot today. I suppose it's not too practical to sometimes train barefoot in a public gym because they might have rules. But if you're training outside or if you've got a little bit of a home setup, try and train barefoot where possible. I'll not be able to see this from the video, but we're trying to keep this arch as activated and as mobile as possible. And the way that happens is that when your toes are able to open up, it's called the windlass mechanism. When the toes are able to spread, the arch can actually activate. So if you want to judge my arch while I'm doing these movements, the arch isn't collapsing at all. So yeah, feet movement. I have a few proprioception, it's called proprioception, where if you're standing on a single leg, for instance, if we close our eyes, the foot's going a little bit crazy. What's happening right now is as the arch of the foot is collapsing and my toes are taking different pressures through the ground, it's telling my brain which way our center of gravity is moving. And that's called proprioception. It's a sense of position in space. So if you were to practice this at home, you would start off with just single leg standing. Put your hand close to something so you don't fall over, eyes open. And the progression from there would be to eventually obviously start doing movement with that, eyes open, and eventually go eyes closed. But yeah, just wanted to demonstrate to you what proprioceptional balance exercise is. And it's just getting the ligaments primed to give feedback to the brain again. And then you'll see, eventually you're gonna fall over because it's fatigued. And proprioception, balance is one of the 4 pillars of movement longevity. We've got balance and proprioception. We've got mobility or flexibility. We've got endurance. That's obviously both muscular and polyvascular. strength. That's both core but also full body strength. Strength, arguably the most important. But yeah, I'll tell you for free, if you've got strength but not the others, what's the point? What's the point of being very strong if you can't wipe your own ass? Back to the extensions. The movement standard for the back extensions is you want to get to a point where you're doing 30 reps. Of course, my dead hang wasn't comfortably over 2 minutes earlier. Obviously, my body's not potentially fully recovered from the weekend's exercise. So, I'm not going to go crazy. Okay, I'll do the ATG split squat from this angle for you. Trying to get the knee going straight over, trying to become symmetrical with these movements. Hopefully you can see my arch from the camera angle, but this arch, trying to keep this arch as activated as possible, and you can probably do it consciously. You know, if you're looking at your arch, if you're seeing it collapse, physically tap the arch. Physically tapping a muscle wakes up that proprioceptive arc to it, gets the muscles firing again. Obviously these movements are all completely scalable. Start off where you are, what movement you've got, what flexibility, mobility you've got, and you just build up from there. There's no rush with this. Remember, we're thinking big picture. We're playing the long game with this. If you can't get a nice straight knee in front of you with this movement, it either means that your deep gluteal muscles, so there's like the piriformis, obturator internus, obturator externus, gemelli, probably muscles that you haven't really heard of before, is tight, and or the opposite muscle to that, the adductors. Not able to get the leg forward means you've probably got tight adductors, sartorius. So it's probably another lesson in health is something called reciprocal inhibition. Reciprocal inhibition is when you're working one system, the opposite system has to do the opposite thing. It's probably a poor way of explaining it, but if you take your biceps and your triceps, for instance, if you had a tight bicep muscle, you're going to have a tight tricep muscle because they both control the movement of the elbow. So in clinic, when we're treating back pain, for instance, if the QLs, which are the back extensors, and lateral side flexors, if the QLs got into spasm, bet you money that the hip flexor, which is the psoas, the deep psoas muscle, psoas major, has probably gone into spasm too. So we released both areas. So yeah, first round was back extension and ATG split squat. As I said, just try and mix it up, keep the body guessing. So let's go simple to a push and tibialis anterior raise. Let's do that. So working with the 12s at the moment. So in terms of my pushing exercise, I'm just enjoying working through my push-ups at the moment. But yeah, we're going full range of motion, all the way to the ground, hands off the ground, push up from that position. To make this a little bit more difficult, you can lift one leg in the air. Almost alternate if you want. Obviously the scalable version of this would be from your knees. If you can't do from your knees, just do what you can, you know. But try the lifting from the bottom range of motion. Lift your shoulders off the ground, your hands off the ground, so that you're working through the full range of motion. I'm going to do 12 to 15 reps. And then move into the a little piece of foam, put it underneath the handle because I'm barefoot. If I had shoes on, I wouldn't bother about that. And then yeah, you just want to be lifting the leg off the ground. This is a 12 kg kettlebell. You might be able to see on the video, but tibialis anterior is this big muscle here. Attaches all the way up close to the kneecap. That's where the muscle starts. And we mentioned earlier about the reciprocal inhibition working the opposite muscles. And this is why this exercise is so important, is we all use our calves way too much, you know. So we've got the gastroc, the two heads, and the soleus is deeper to it. You can see the soleus coming through there. So we've got these big calf muscles that flex the foot forward. But why don't we work the muscles that do that? So this is one way of doing this. Not everyone's got kettlebells. This is a lovely muscle you can get to failure very safely. That's all I've got. But probably your lesson for today, if you've been following audioly, is yeah, you want to be working all the opposing muscles equally as the muscle that you're working. So yeah, getting this muscle activated and firing again will help with your ankle stability. It's one of the muscles that holds up the arch, by the way. So yeah, if you've got collapsing feet, get barefoot every now and then, get your toes grabbing the ground again. And yeah, get your TA, your tibialis anterior activated. You can do this by walking backwards on a treadmill, walk backwards up a hill, walk backwards outside, and then any kind of pulling movement with a sled or a tie a rope around something. Yeah, walk backwards, pulling something is going to get this muscle pushing and activating away from you. So that's what the tibialis anterior lift looks like. And then yeah, supersetting this one with the pushes like we said. Yeah, nice full range of motion. What's nice with these, working with the basic exercises like the MoveMed 8 for instance, you can do them in different variations. You can see you can go very quick, which will give a different stimulus. We can go down very slowly, up very slowly for control. Yeah, you can do different variations. Always keep the body guessing. But we're just getting these big movement patterns always stronger. And if we're always working on similar movements, get the body used to doing similar movements, you can then go as heavy and as hard as you want safely. This is where I see a lot of injuries in clinic. Patients come in and I say, what have you done? And they said that they went gardening, they did some gardening on the weekend. And yeah, very simple. The body's not used to that action, the repetitive strain, bending down, lifting objects, lifting soil. And it was a different movement that the body wasn't used to. So new movement and variation is essential to keep the body guessing. But also strength, you need to be able to do the similar movements over and over again. And that's how you can go and lift heavy safely. And when we start lifting heavy weights, that's when the body gets really strong. But yeah, you have to be smart. If you aren't used to doing deadlifting or gym or gardening, be smart. The first time you're gardening again for the season, take it easy, have regular breaks. Keep it simple. It's another health principle. It's simple, stupid. I call myself stupid, not you. Keep it simple. I tell myself this every day. Keep it simple, keep it simple, keep it simple. Health is very simple. If you think of health as a seesaw, it's either tilting in your favor or it's not. And when it's not tilting in your favor, you have to do a few things to get it back in your favor. That's a great exercise. Okay. QL side extensions and a pull. Let me show you what this looks like. So again, this machine is just a bit of a cheat code because I showed you the back extensions earlier. Then to do side extensions, you just turn everything 90 degrees. So hips 90 degrees, feet 90 degrees. My feet are still wedged in there, so the only movement I can do is go up and down in this side plane. And the movement will be full lateral flexion. And then from the full lateral flexion, that's where you want to be lifting up from. Back to the extension, 90 degrees the other way. From full lateral flexion, full lateral extension. You're following what's happening with my back here. This opposite muscle, so the left-hand side QL, is doing most of the work. But if we're actively sucking in all the core muscles, it's a big core strengthening exercise. There's a very nice variation to this for the adductors. So if we're in the side position, you can actually pop one leg out. Okay. This changes the whole movement. Now instead of doing a lateral bend from the torso, we're lateral bending from the hip. Yeah, I don't recommend going straight to this one, but now you see what's happening is my adductors having to fire. There's many other ways of strengthening the adductors. This is just one example. Always do both sides. Okay. So, do the side extensions. I'll superset this with pull-ups. Again, with this, your pulling exercise that you're choosing to do Might be a bent over row or a cable row. I started off with those. I was using these exercise bands to do pulling movements. But yeah, then I quickly progressed. Now to get a nice strong stimulus for strength, I do pull-ups. So I can only do some kind of 6 to 10 strict ones, but I'm starting from a full dead hang. But yeah, building up the strength there. Other examples, if you're at home, you know, any pulling exercise where you're pulling something towards you, resistance bands is one example. If you've got the heavy kettlebells at home, you know, nice bent over row, just grab onto something. Bent over rows, lovely pulling action. Yeah, so as you can see this round, we're just taking 2 of the 8 exercises at a time and doing 2 rounds of each of them. Oh. As you can see, you don't have to go crazy to do exercise. We're doing 8 exercises, 8 movements, twice each. It's a good half-hour workout. Keep it simple. So pull-ups are from a full hanging position. Today I'm doing a bit of close-ish grip. Okay, so we're going to push, we're going to pull, and back extensions, side extensions, ATG. So yeah, next round we're going to do a lift, a hip hinge. One example of so the next is a lifting or hip hinging. So kettlebell swings. If you're just watching, what's happening is that my knees aren't bending too much. The movement is coming from my hips hinging, hence the word hip hinge. But yeah, at the top of the pendulum, you can almost let the weight go. Don't throw it against the glass in front of you though. So that's an example of a hip hinging movement. Yeah, so I'll sometimes do that. Otherwise, my other lift is a goblet squat. Hold the nice heavy weights in front of you. So this set, it's a killer, man. I'll superset that with calf raises. So calf raises we do, at least I do, front third of your bare foot off the edge of a block, and you're doing full, all the way down, all the way up. calf raises. Now you know we worked the front of the shin earlier with the tibialis anterior raises. Now we're working the plantar flexors. When you're barefoot, you're using a lot of arch muscles in this movement. That's why we're trying to avoid lifting and training with shoes on, especially shoes with hard platforms, is it takes away the whole movement of the intrinsic movement of the foot. I'm using the mirror to make sure that my arch isn't collapsing. I feel like we all get enough arch collapsing exercise, because obviously, same with the back flexion and extension, you want to be able to collapse the arch and activate it. So I will have days when I purposely try and collapse the arch, bring it up, collapse the arch. So there are days when we do that, but I find I get enough of that stimulus with running. When you're running, when you land, the movement of the foot is around the outside, and then the collapsing arch is part of the running action when the foot pronates. So yeah, as long as you're doing some running, you don't have to worry too much about that. Okay, get these out. Oh, back to the hip hinge. Just looks from the front. Yeah, all that's left is some proprioception, some leg raises. First you have to finish off the calf raises. With this exercise, you can really dig your big toe in, try and pull the toes into the block or the floor. This is a great exercise for the hamstrings. So again, this is a nice combination exercise. We're going to the glute bridge position. So you can Really tap the glutes, make sure that they're really firing. So while the glutes are activated, then you want to do a hamstring curl. If you want to isolate the hamstring, when you get better at this, when your balance gets a little better, you can do single leg. Oh. Good exercise. That's around half an hour of work. Not bad. And that's a workout, guys. Not crazy. You have to do more than this. We're playing the long game, remember? Playing the long game, think big picture. Now that the exercise is done, the workout is done, now we focus on recovery. Try and do your recovery in a posture that is counteracting a bad posture in your life. For most of us, that'll be sitting, too much sitting. Nothing wrong with sitting, guys, but prolonged sitting, prolonged slouching is not good for you. So try and, if that's you, try and counteract this. Maybe you work manually and you're standing up all day long. Then a recovery position for you might be child's pose or some kind of flexion, but for most of us, you want to be cooling down after exercise. Try to calm the nervous system as quick as you can. Physiological sigh is not as glamorous as Huberman's. While we're on the sigh, physiological sighs is how your body naturally calms its nervous system down. So we've all been in the office and we've heard people sighing like, oh, when they're stressed. And yeah, that's the body's natural mechanism of how it calms its nervous system down instantaneously. So you can simulate a sighing by taking 2 forced quick breaths inwards, so a long and a short one. So the second one is just to super inflate the lungs and then breathe out all the way out. I also like to finish off my exercise with a few rockers.
Both feet flat and toes tucked in.
So yeah guys, this is how I train. Twice a week, do any variation of these, depending on how well I've recovered or how well I think I've recovered, perceived recovery. And then I'll train to a perceived exertion. I'd say today, because I didn't get my 2-minute hang, today's session, yeah, probably felt at 70–80% of what I would like to do. But yeah, Friday will be a new day. Maybe I'll hang for 2.5 minutes. And then I'll put all these weights into one bar and lift them all at the same time. Jokes. If you have any questions about these exercises or anything, let me know. Leave a comment, leave some love, leave a question or two. And I'll make sure I make videos and get back to you. Get to the day.